Hello everyone, this is my review for Emperor, a 2012 film. There will be spoilers for this film, though the movie is about true events, so you could pretty much figure out everything about this movie anyway. So I don't think the spoiler is that big of a deal, but spoilers ahead. Emperor stars Matthew Fox and Tommy Lee Jones. It is set immediately after the ending of the Pacific portion of World War II. The story focuses around Tommy Lee Jones, playing as General MacArthur, charged with rebuilding Japan after the bombings. Jones charges one of his generals, an expert on Japanese culture, Matthew Fox, to conduct an investigation to determine which of Japan's hierarchy should be charged as war criminals. Most of the movie follows Matthew Fox traveling around Japan interviewing different Japanese officials, trying to determine if the emperor should be charged as a war criminal, and what the response would be if he was to the general public. The movie is a political, military drama, focusing heavily on American occupation of Japan and how it affects the people. Matthew Fox is pretty good here. I've always liked him in Lost, but I find that most of his other film roles have been less than stellar. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't have all that much screen time compared to Fox, but he is great when he's there. Jones always does great as figures of authority, such as police and military. This is no exception to that. He is quite open-minded considering the events around him in the movie. In the middle of the movie, there is this love story. It is mostly told in flashbacks between Matthew Fox and this Japanese girl that he meets in the States, learning to be an English teacher or a teacher in general. This love story is okay, nothing special. It's definitely not your conventional story though, especially the way it turns out. The pacing is quite solid for this movie. Sometimes a movie like this could easily drag on and become boring, but that's not the case here. You would think a movie about American soldiers walking around in a World War II post-Japan would deal with a lot more racism and prejudice, but that is barely actually shown here. It's totally there, and you know it, and the movie does a good job of subtly hinting at it, but it's not overly highlighted, which was pretty nice in my opinion. I feel like a lot of times with these movies, they just kind of hammer you on the head with that stuff. The Emperor doesn't actually appear until almost the very end of the movie, and even when he does appear, you don't actually see a full visual of him until the very last scene. Before that, you just see silhouettes of his backside, which I think is a great decision, since throughout the movie, the numerous people Fox interviews describe the Emperor as a larger-than-life figure. Tommy Lee Jones even refers to him as a god at one point, explaining how do you talk to a god. The very slow reveal to him is actually pretty awesome. It works very well in establishing this larger-than-life kind of figure. In closing, I think this is a pretty solid biopic, true story movie. It scratches the itch of a World War II movie, like showing the aftermath and also being a more character-driven study versus being a horrors of war kind of story where you see a lot of the actual action. There's very little action in this actual movie besides a few war flashbacks. I think that's something we just don't see very often with World War II movies, so I really appreciate that, and I think if you're looking for a more character oriented story, then you definitely come in the right place with this movie.